Good afternoon, everyone. This is Oihik. So, as you guys know, the today's topic is compromising the Active Directory environment. If you're talking about the Active Directory environment, it is also known as enterprise environment. Basically, Active Directory is a domain under which multiple systems are working. Suppose if you're working in a company, if you're working in a company and after joining that particular company, we get a laptop or a system from the company, right? And we have seen that we cannot access some of the websites, we cannot download any normal exe file, we cannot uninstall a program from our control panel, right? Why? Because after using our own laptop or our own system where we can do everything, we are basically denied from performing some action. Why does it happen? Right? Because now that particular office computer is under a administrative control, and under a single administrative or a multiple administrative control, there are multiple systems are working together. So this kind of environment is called enterprise environment or Active Directory environment. Okay. Now, in an Active Directory environment, the main head or the main leader, right? The main leader system is known as domain controller. Why it is known as domain controller? Because a domain is a logical space. You can say a domain is a logical space where multiple systems are performing similar tasks. For example, let's talk about a company ISOEH. Okay, so in ISOEH, we are the employees of ISOEH, right? Now in ISOEH, everybody is working for ISOEH, right? Everybody is working for the benefit of ISOEH company, right? So we can say we all the employees of ISOEH are performing similar tasks, right? So we are under domain. We are in a domain, right? Now the system which is controlling the whole domain is known as domain controller. Okay. Now under ISOH there are multiple departments like finance, IT, marketing. There are multiple departments, right? Now in this multiple departments, they are performing different tasks. Finance department is performing different tasks. Marketing department is performing a different task, right? But both marketing and finance department are the part of ISOH, but they are different from each other. So they are known as subdomain. So we can say ISOH is a root domain and marketing and finance are known as subdomains, right? So I hope I assume that you already have seen the video on Active Directory beforehand, right? So we will not discuss about Active Directory in more detail today. So we will go straight into the attack part. But attack, before going into the attack, we have to know about the authentication used in Active Directory. So in an Active Directory, authentication is done by two protocols. Number one is called Kerberos protocol, Kerberos authentication. Number two is known as NTLM authentication. Right? Now, before going into the authentication, we have to talk about another protocol called SMB. So I hope some of you know what SMB is, but still let me explain further. SMB is a protocol by which we can share a file or a folder or anything in a network system. That means suppose there is a particular directory, known as confidential, for example. Now I want to share this particular directory with everybody or with some people who is connected to a network or who is connected to my same network, right? So how can I share them? Either I can mail them, right, or I can send it via pen drive, right? But if I send it via mail, if I send it via mail, that means what? That means the file is going through internet, and we all know that internet is not at all secure, right? So this will be very risky to send it through a mail, right? So there SMB protocol comes into action. Right? For what the SMB protocol do? SMB protocol share a particular file within a single network. That means that particular file is physically hosted in one particular system, and that is being shared in the whole network. That means people who will be connected in that particular network can get access, can remotely access that particular file from their own system without downloading the file in their own physical machine. That means there it is more secure way to share the file, and also it is also a way to less the hard disk storage. Okay, so we will come into the SMB part later on, but before we have to know about the Kerberos and NTLM authentication. Now, first I will explain what is a Kerberos authentication. So, Kerberos authentication needs a single thing. So, for the Kerberos authentication, there is one condition. The condition is SPN. SPN full form is Service Principal Name. Now, as you guys know, in an Active Directory environment, there are multiple service accounts are there. Multiple service accounts are there. Now, how can I identify that this account belongs to a normal people and this account belong to a particular service, right? So how can I identify that? So the accounts which is consisting a SPN is called a service account, and the account which is do not consisting a SPN, we cannot call it a service account. That means suppose if I create an account in Active Directory, if I create a domain account or a domain user account known as ISOEH, okay. Now, if I provide a SPN to that ISOEH account become a service account. If I do not provide SPN, I cannot call it a service account. Okay. There now, why I have explained the SPN? Because for the Kerberos authentication, SPN is needed. SPN is mandatory, right? So, let me share my screen. Okay, I hope my screen is visible. Let me open the paint. Okay, so as I have told, there are multiple systems. So let's talk about only one system first. Suppose this is a machine, it's a client machine who is trying to access a service. Access a service who has a SPN. Just remember if the account is do not consisting of SPN, we cannot authenticate to it with Kerberos. We cannot authenticate to it through Kerberos. So that particular account or the server should consist a SPN. Okay, now as you guys know that in an active directory environment, every authentication, every authorization, every permission is given by domain controller, because everything in an active directory is administered by a domain controller, right? So domain controller is the main thing in the active directory. This is my domain controller. Okay, and another one is the service account or the server. Okay, now first what the client will send. Client will send a authentication request to the domain controller. That now what this authentication request will contain, the SPN plus username. Okay, username and the NTLM password hash. Okay, so this will contain the authentication request. Okay, now in the domain controller there is a department where all this verification will be checked. This department is known as KDC. The full form of KDC is Key Distribution Center. Okay, now in KDC there are further three departments. One department is called AS. The full form of AS, Authentication Service. Next is TGS. Okay, the full form of TGS is Ticket Granting Service. And the third one is called DS. The full form of DS is Database Service. 1 minute, sorry. Database service. Now here authentication service and database service are synchronized with a key, with an encryption key. For example, we are telling it K1. Right now, when the client has sent the authentication request to a domain controller that I want to access this particular service, is also sending the username and the NTLM password hash. Right? Then what the authentication service will do? Authentication service will check with the database service whether this particular NTLM hash is present or not. Okay, whether this particular service is present or not. And also another thing to remember, this whole thing also encrypted with the K1. Okay, encrypted with the K1. The K1 which is synchronized between the AS and DS. Right? Okay, then if DS authenticate as the yes, he is a known user. Known user. Then what the AS will do? AS will send a ticket to the client. This ticket is known as ticket granting ticket. and this ticket granting ticket is encrypted with K2. I will explain what this K2 and K1 is encrypted with K2. Okay, so this is the step 1. So every step is containing authentication and the authorization. Okay, not authorization, that means the permission, that the granting thing. Okay, authentication and granting. Now what the client will do now? Now the client will, as the client got the TGT, now client have the TGT, right? Now in order to authenticate to the server or the service, the client need another ticket called service ticket or TGS, ticket granting service. No, he do not have the TGS yet. So in order to request for the TGS or the service ticket, what he will do? He will take this TGT, he will take this TGT to the TGS. Okay, TGS, right? And here AS and TGS is synchronized by another key called K2. Okay, K2. Okay, now what you will send this thing. Okay, you will take this particular thing. So what TGS will do? TGS will ask AS that whether you have sent this TGS or not, right? Whether you have sent the TGS or not, right? So what AS will do? AS will say yes, I have sent in the TGS, but I have sent in the sent him TGT, authenticate him, give the TGS, right? Now what now the TGS will do? TGS will assign a service ticket. Will assign a service ticket. And on the other hand, TGS is also synchronized with the server through another key called K3. Okay, K3. Now, so what the client have sent? The client has TGT, which is encrypted with K2, and also the SPN. Okay, SPN will always go in the authentication request. Okay, now assign a service ticket, right? Then what this client will do? Client will send the service. Sorry, my mistake not here. You will send the TGT, the TGS service ticket or service ticket. Okay, and with the SPN. Okay, SPN. Now client has a TGS also or the service ticket also. Now what the client will do? Client will take this service ticket to the server and say, here, see, I have the service ticket. I have your service ticket to let authenticate. Right? Now what the server will do? Server will say, okay, let me check. Let me verify with the TGS. So as we have told, TGS is synchronized with server with K3, and server can ask the TGS whether you have authenticated the server or not. So basically it is encrypted with K3, right? So encrypted with K3. Okay, And as the TGS is authenticated to a server, now then finally the server will give the authentication. It will now authenticate. So we've seen this is the first step, step 1, the first step, and this will be the step 2, right? And this will be the step 3. Now, as you can see, there are 3 keys are used and 3 steps are used. Now, there is a reason. There is a reason why the name is Kerberos. So, the Kerberos name is come from Cerberus. Cerberus basically a Greek mythological god who have 3, also known as 3-headed dogs. That's why the steps are 3. Okay, so this is called Kerberos authentication in active directory environment. Okay, now what is this K1, K2 and K3? K1, K2, K3, so mapping will be K1 is basically nothing but the users NTLM hash. K2 on the KRB DGT hash. So if you guys know KRB DGT hash, basically KRB DGT is a user account which is by default created whenever we configure a active directory environment. Okay, then K3 nothing but the service account hash. Okay, K1, K2 and K3. So this is the Kerberos authentication. Okay, now Kerberos authentication is a by default authentication. Now when a Kerberos can fail, when a Kerberos authentication can fail, when suppose a client is trying to authenticate to a server or to a service who is do not have any SPN. If this is the situation, that time Kerberos authentication will fail. So if the Kerberos authentication fail, so how they will authenticate? Right? Through another protocol called NTLM authentication. Okay, so this is Kerberos. Next, we're moving to NTLM authentication. Okay, so the same scenario. So there is a client. So there will be a domain controller. And there will be a server. So remember, for NTLM authentication, SPN is not needed. When there is no SPN, that time only NTLM authentication is performed. So this service. Okay. Now the first step. What the client will send? Client will send authentication request as usual. Authentication request to the service that I want to authenticate to you, and this authentication request will consist the only username, and SPN is not needed, so only username will go in authenticating the service. So the service will do. Now the service will send him a number, a random number. This random number is known as challenge. Okay, the challenge. Now what the client will do? The client will add the challenge plus his NTLM hash. Okay, the NTLM hash. Okay, and he will send it to this thing to the service account. So this particular thing is known as NTLM v2 hash. So that NTLM v2 hash is consisting the challenge and also the NTLM hash of the user. So the service has the NTLM v2 hash. Now what the service will do? Service will forward that particular NTLM v2 hash to the domain controller. Okay, now what is the step now? Service will check whether the challenge he has sent is matching or not. If it gets matched, then the service will forward the whole NTLM v2 hash to the domain controller. Now what the domain controller is consisting? Domain controller is consisting the NTLM hash of the user, NTLM hash of the user, right? Now if the NTLM hash of the user is matching with the domain controller NTLM hash, you will say to the server that yes, you can authenticate him for the service. Then in the last scenario, service will authenticate it to the client. Okay. Now your question will be, there is a question arised that I have told for the Kerberos authentication, SPN is mandatory, right? Without SPN, Kerberos authentication cannot be performed. Now think about one thing. Whenever we are signing into a system, whenever we are logging into a system, that time what service is there? What SPN is finding out? If we think it in a general way, there is no SPN. But still Kerberos authentication is getting performed. Why? Because whenever we join a computer to an Active Directory environment or to a domain, a machine account is automatically gets created in the Active Directory. Suppose if I join this machine to a domain, this machine will be there will be created a machine account of this particular machine, and that machine account password is auto generated along with two services are created automatically. Two services are known as host service, number one. Number two service is known as CIFS, Common Internet File System. So there is SPN, host, and CIFS, right? So SPN is there. So as usual, Kerberos, right? So this is NTLM authentication in Active Directory. So this is the authentication part of Active Directory. Now as I've talked about SMB, right? Now SMB is the everything I can browse in an Active Directory domain. Through SMB, I can only browse in an Active Directory domain, right? And we can browse SMB by like this / the IP address of the machine where a file or share is hosted. 1.14 / the share name. For example, ISOEH is the name of the share. If I give enter, okay, if I give enter, I will get the access. But after writing this particular location, what basically happened? What basically happened? See, in the domain controller of the Active Directory, every servers are working differently or working separately. What are the servers I'm talking about? The two main servers, that is DNS and NetBIOS. DNS and NetBIOS. Now what I will do, so in this DNS table, what I will store the IP address of all the machines along with the share name of share and the IP address, suppose 10 ISO is the name of the share, right? And the network table, what is stored? The MAC address along with the host name, right? Okay, now the domain name also will be there, domain name. So in the network table, what is stored? The MAC address along with the share name. Share one, for example, right? Okay, and now in an Active Directory, whenever a person is accessing for a share through SMB, suppose like this, share one through SMB, then what happened after that? First, it will come to DNS table and check whether this share is existing or not, or this share one, whatever the name has been typed, is existing or not in the DNS. If that particular share name is existing in the Active Directory, the authentication will be provided considering the authorization of the user. If the user is authorized with only read permission, then he will be provided with read permission only. He cannot modify or write anything in the file, right? Now, if this particular DNS fail, it will go and check in the NetBIOS, right? So if that particular share in the NetBIOS table, then also same, you will get the authentication, or you will considering the authorization of the user, right? Now I have talked about if there is a existing share. So suppose share one is there and the user has access for the share one, right? Then he will get the authentication. But what if he made a mistake, like a typo, like this? Suppose like this, shared like this. Then this shard is not present in DNS, not in the network, because it's not existing. It is not existing in the domain, right? Then another protocol. I am talking about a service, not a protocol, whatever you can say. This is not a server. This particular service is known as LLMNR. The full form of LLMNR is Link Local Multicast Name Resolution. Link Local Multicast Name Resolution. Now what the LLMNR will do? LLMNR do not have any table. As I have told, it's not a server. It is not maintaining a table. So what is the role of LLMNR? So basically, LLMNR, what the LLMNR will do? LLMNR will broadcast to every system in the domain or the network, every system in the network, that whether you have particular share or not with the name shared, like this. What I made the mistake? What the mistake I have made? Like this, right? So whether you have this particular share name or not, okay, you will ask every system in the network, right? So obviously nobody will respond. Nobody will respond to the request, right? So the request will finally become failed. Okay, so this is the position. This is the position where the attackers point. So the first attack of Active Directory is known as LLMNR poisoning. Now what is LLMNR poisoning? See, first of all, the first and foremost, we have understood that if I read like this particular share name is not existing in the domain, that means this particular service is do not consisting SPN. So automatically, as usual, it will be downgraded to NTLM. So Kerberos will not get performed here. So first and foremost, it will be downgraded to NTLM authentication. Right? Now what will happen? Now, as through LMNR also, nobody is responding because shared directory is not there in the network. Then what the attacker will do? Instead of responding from any machine, attacker will respond to the request. He will say, yes, I have the shared folder. Give me your NTLM v2 hash. Why? Now, what the client will do? Client NTLM v2 hash will be sent to the attacker. Why does it happen? If you remember NTLM authentication, suppose this is the client, this is the domain controller, this is the server, okay, service, this is TC, and this is the client, right? Now client has sent for the request name is send for request, right? Sorry, diagram is wrong. This is the client request for the shared directory to the whole network. LLMNR to the whole network. What we'll do is basically broadcast the request, whether you are containing the shared folder or not, right? So here, suppose there are two PCs and two PCs, right? And this is a hacker machine. So this is PC1 and this is PC2, right? Next, this is the hacker machine. Okay. Now, as from these two pieces no responses come, what the hacker will send? Hacker will send a request, or hacker will send a response. And the response we all know is known as challenge. So challenge has come from the hacker machine now, right? Not the original server, because the service or the server is not present. Now the hacker machine is pretending to be a service. So he will send the challenge to the client, right? Now what the client will do? Client will, as usual, will send. So here you have already sent the username, and the hacker send the challenge. And what you will do? You will send his own NTLM hash. Okay, and as we know, this total thing is known as NTLM v2 hash, right? NTLM v2 hash. So hacker machine has now this NTLM v2 hash will be sent by the client to the attacker, and the attacker is getting the NTLM v2 hash of the user. Now the attacker can either crack the hash and get the initial access to the system. Also, you can pass the hash for further more attacks. So let's go into the practical part. Okay. So let me show you 1 minute. Let me show you the eliminal poisoning. So this attack is known as LLMNR poisoning attack. Okay, so this is a machine. So another machine we have, nothing to. And then another user. So this is a machine. This is a machine. In this machine, we have kept a share, free SMB. So this is a share SMB, right? Now suppose this is a machine who is trying to authenticate to this machine through that particular share folder. Okay, so let me log in. Okay, it's logged in. Now, so let me tell you, so in a VMware lab, that type of basically not work. Okay, not work due to some security reason of VMware. But in real life scenario, if you go for a pen testing, the activated pen testing, so in a real life scenario, it will work. Okay, so turn on the domain controller. Okay, let me check the IP address. '77 and 2 meeting. successfully pinging the domain controller. That means it is in the domain. Right? Now suppose from this client to machine, if I make a typo, if I suppose access a share with the right name first, 2.168. So this particular client machine IP is, let me show you the IP, 182. Okay. Now I am typing the right IP address. 52. The name is share. So obviously I will get the access. I will get the access, right? But what if I make a typo? So as I told in the VMware, typo will not work. So in VMware, we will basically access for the Kali machine IP. Okay, Kali machine IP. So I'm showing the Kali machine IP. So the Kali machine IP is 197.149. So let's for the Kali machine IP 49. So as you can see, I am not getting a response. I am not getting a response. Right? See, Windows cannot access this, the spelling of the name. Right? So in this situation, attacker will give the response now. Attacker will say, nobody is responding. Okay, I am responding to you. I have this particular share. Give me your NTLM v2 hash through the NTLM authentication. Right? So now what the attacker have to do? Attacker have to utilize a tool called responder. Okay, so responder, he will respond to the victim or the user's request. So I'm turned on the responder. So let me check whether misconfiguration or not. Yeah. Turn on the configuration on. Make sure the SMB, HTTP and HTTPS is turned on because I'm sending the SMB response, right? The SMB response should be on. So now I will turn on the responder. So responder hyphen capital I ETA0 hyphen DW. Okay. So responder is on. Now try to authenticate again. Nine. Okay. So as you can see now, the response is coming. The response is coming from the attacker, from the hacker. But if the attacker machine, 1 minute. As you can see, I have got the Barry Allen's NTLM v2 hash. Right? Barry Allen's NTLM v2 hash and the IP address is, the machine is 170. Right? 170. So what I can do? I can crack the hash through simple brute forcing, right? Through John and hashcat, any tool. So I will copy this hash just and store in a file. Okay, b hash. Okay, sorry, hash.txt. Save, and I will simply brute force the hash. Okay, brute force the hash to John. So John. So I have to make a word list. Okay, I have to. I think I have a word list called pass.txt. I'm showing the word list. Okay, yeah, I have the word list. Let me check whether it will work or not. So John hyphen word list equal to pass.txt, and the file where I have kept or where I have stored the Barry Allen's NTLM hash. You know, it's a NTLM v2 hash. So b hash dot txt. Okay, so as you can see, I got the password of BLN. Password of BLN. Now I will now show you how to take the initial access if you successfully crack the user's password. So here you have seen You have seen that username is BLN, IP address is 197.170, and I have the already password, that is password 2, right? So using a tool called impacket smb exec, I will take the initial access to the system. So impacket in smb exec, right? Then I have to give a domain name. Domain name is DC, right? Slash BLN, right? Colon the password, that is password which I've cracked, that is password 2, okay, and add the rate, the IP address which I've got from the responder, 87.170. Okay, that's it. Okay, I think the connection error. Okay, so let me try another tool called PS exec. I think SMB is turned off, so I am showing you another user. Okay, I will have the password. The username is, let me turn on the responder once again. Okay, we try with another user. So in this machine, Bruce Wayne is authenticated. Let me try. Nine. Okay, so I think I have the hash of the Bruce Wayne. BWN. Okay, let me check. Yeah, Bruce Wayne, I have the hash. So let me crack it. That is hash 1.txt. The password is password 1. Okay, password 1. Right? Now what I will do is the PC by BWayne, and the password is password 1. IP address is 182, 192, 182. Okay. Okay. As you now can see, I got the initial access of the system. If I do who am I, get the enters of the system. If I do dir, get the all the file. I have the full access of the system. So we have successfully compromised the machine in a active directory environment. So successfully compromised the active directory. Okay. So I hope you have some glimpse how to start an active directory attack, right? So in a real life scenario, this type of attack is basically performed. Okay, so I hope this is clear to you. So thank you everyone for watching this and have a good day. Thank you.